Hi guys, in this video we're going to be looking at quadratic functions and what their graph looks like, and how does, if we change stuff in it to the parent function, how does it affect the graph. So if you notice, the first thing I want you to write is that our parent function is y equals x squared. That's our parent function. Now we have a couple of vocab words we need to know. One of the first vocab words is what the vertex is. The vertex is going to be either the highest or the lowest point on a parabola, in this case right here. So the vertex is going to be the highest or the lowest point. Right now we have a vertex at 0, 0. So our parent function has a vertex of 0, 0. We also have what's called the axis of symmetry or line of symmetry, which is basically what, if I was to draw a line halfway in the parabola, it would cut my parabola in half. And so if you see, I could draw a line right here that would cut it in half. And everything that's on the left will mirror everything that's on the right. So for example, this point right here, 1, 1, you have the same point over here, 1, 1. Here we have a point at 2, 4. Here we have another point at negative 2, 4. So if you can notice, it's mirroring each other on both sides. Now for the axis of symmetry, we actually write an equation for it. Our axis of symmetry is a straight line going at 0. So this straight line, if I asked you for the equation, would be x is equal to 0. Then we need to determine if this vertex is either a maximum or a minimum. If it's upward, it's going to be the bottom point, so it's going to be the minimum. So this is going to be called a minimum. And why? Because it's at the bottom. A maximum would look like this. So you could add that to your vocabulary words. But in this one, we have a minimum. This is a minimum, a vertex. Okay, and then which way is it facing? It's facing upwards. Downwards would be looking like this. Okay, so now let's talk about changes. So hopefully you got all these vocab words. We got a vertex, axis of symmetry, parent function is y equals x squared, and then you have a minimum with the picture what it looks like and a maximum of what it would look like. So now let's try doing something to this. So let's see what happens if I write now, instead of y equals x squared, let's make it y equals negative x squared. So if you notice, if you look at the graph now, this is the original parent function. What happened when I put a negative in front? It made it now face down. So I want you to write in your notes that when the coefficient is negative, it's going to be facing downwards. So that's what we noticed there in the graph. Now let's try another change. Okay, well let's try changing it so now it's a different number. Instead of just x squared, let's make it 5x squared. So if you notice, the red is the original. What happened is now the blue. So what happened to my graph? It was like this, and it kind of went like this, a little bit narrower. So let's try another one. What if I put y equals 10x squared? What would that look like? So x squared. Okay, do you see how every time it's getting more narrow and more narrow and more narrow? So if you multiply the x squared by a big number, it's going to make it more narrow. Well, what happens then if I make it a fraction? What if I put y equals 0.5 x squared? So if I make it 0.5 x squared, now it's drawing it in purple. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and erase this. So it went from the red now to the purple. So what happened? I made it a fraction, so it was like this, and it kind of spread out. Okay, so those are some observations. So basically, if the coefficient, which is a number in front of x squared, is a number bigger than 1, it gets wider. Sorry for my handwriting. And then if it is between 0, so if it's between 0 and 1, so basically a fraction, it's going to get wider. Okay, so those are some things that we've noticed. Now let's try doing something else to it. Now we've done something multiplying by x squared. What happens if I add something to it? So like this. So the original is the red, and now it's in the purple. What happened? It shifted up 5. Okay, so if I add 5, it's going to horizontally move up 5 so that the vertex is now up here. Okay, well, what happens if I made it a minus? Let's make it a minus 5. Oops. Okay, so what happened? Positive 5 moved it up here. Negative 5 or minus 5 moved it down here. So it shifted down 5, the vertex. Did anything else change? No, I basically got this one and redrew it down here. It didn't get wider or nearer. It just stayed the same because all I did was I move it down. And that's about it. That's all we need to know for our parabolas. Oh, that's another word we needed to write. Sorry. The shape, this U shape, is called a parabola. And so that's the shape that we get when we graph quadratics. Okay, and that's it, guys.